Now, we are approaching Shavuot, and we spoke last time about the different minhagim of Shavuot, having milchik on Shavuot, and reading the Ketubah, and Megillat Ruth, and all other minhagim. Tonight I want to speak a little bit about some of the halachot of Yom Tov. Some of the halachot of Yom Tov as it pertains to minhagim. Number one is the hadlakat nerot of Yom Tov. Women lighting nerot shel Yom Tov would seemingly be very similar to Shabbat. And as we know, the minhag of Sfaradim and Ashkenazim is that they first light and then they make the beracha. Because if they would make the beracha beforehand, they would accept already Shabbat. And how could they light afterwards? And although Rav Ovadia Yosef has a very long discussion that according to the opinion of Maran, one really should make the bracha beforehand and then light. Nevertheless, we spoke about this many times, is that the accepted custom by the Sfaradim is as the Hida writes, and as the Ben Ish Chai writes, and as many other Gdolei Poskei Sfarad writes, that the minhag was always that the women would light and then make a beracha of Hadlakat Ner Shabbat. Correct? Besides, in Teiman, where they used to make the bracha beforehand, and in some places in Baghdad, according to Rav Elisha Dangur, some places would make a beracha and then light, but the minhag of Sfaradim is not that way. The minhag of most Sfaradim is to light and then make a beracha. So the recently printed book of the Mekapsiel, it could be I mentioned this already, but I'm going to go over it again. He discusses at length. Mekapsiel is a sefer that the Ben Ish Chai wrote. He always used to refer to it in his book Ben Ish Chai, but recently they were able to redeem this copy and they put it out. And in the sefer Mekapsiel, he writes, why is it that our minhag is this way on Adlakat Ner Shabbat, to light and then to make a beracha? Usually a beracha should always come first, and usually we should say that you should make a beracha and then light. A lady should make a bracha and then light. So he first says like this. Number one, he says, if a lady is from, I'm reading from Mekapsiel, Parashat Noach Shana Shniya, page 160. If she's going to make a bracha beforehand, it looks like she's already accepting the Shabbat with the bracha. How could she light afterwards? She already made the bracha. Says the Ben Ish Chai, another whopping chidush. How is it possible that a lady is going to light and then make a bracha after the fact? It says like this. It's for sure considered like over l'asiyatan, like before the action. Why? Because think about it. When a lady lights Hadlakat Ner Shabbat, it's still light outside. So when is she getting the most pleasure from the nerot? When it becomes dark. Says the Ben Ish Chai, when she makes the bracha Vasher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'adlik ner shel Shabbat, her ikar kavana is for the night. So she lights, she makes the bracha. She can't make the bracha beforehand, she still has to do an action of lighting, which is forbidden once she makes the bracha. She lights, she makes the bracha, and then she's going to get benefit of her action later. So that's for sure called over l'asiyatan. He says also she should close her eyes when she lights the nerot, so she doesn't get benefit right away from the nerot. Now, all of this is by a lady because she accepts Shabbat with her beracha. But what about a man? A man doesn't accept Shabbat with his beracha. He says Shabbat in Bet Knesset when he says Mizmor Levi. So let's say a man has to light Nekaner Shabbat. He for sure has to make a bracha and then light. Not only that, on Yom Tov as well, the Ben Ish Chai says the minhag is to make the bracha and then to light. So why is it? Why is it on Yom Tov different? Because on Yom Tov she is not accepting the Yom Tov with her beracha. There is no halacha like that, and therefore on Yom Tov she makes the bracha beforehand and then she lights. On that the Ben Ish Chai says she has to be careful not to talk until she finishes lighting all the other nidot. Now, there is a minhag by ladies that the Ben Ish Chai and the Sefer Ben Ish Chai brings down. In Sefer Bamidbar, Shana Aleph, Ot Aleph.
So that halacha is for both nights of the top?
That halacha is for both nights. Yes, it's for both nights. Now, one thing to mention, since you bring this up, is that in the Sidur Avotenu, the Machzor Avotenu, he brings a very funny thing. He brings a very interesting minhag that ladies, some ladies on Yom Tov Sheni would not make a beracha. Some ladies on Yom Tov Sheni would not make a beracha on hadlakat ner shel Yom Tov. Now the truth is that if one looks in the halacha, the hadlakat ner shel Yom Tov of Yom Tov Sheni, they would only light a large kelim, and after that, he says like this: אך נודע שבמרוקו לא נהגו להדליק נרות לא ביום טוב שני של גלויות ולא ביום טוב שני של ראש השנה. מלכתחילה הדליקו שמן זית מספיק לשני ימים. Now, it's a pele. I have to say that this halacha, I cannot believe that he wrote such a thing, and I wrote in my sefer, Magen Avot, the new Magen Avot, in Siman Tav Reish Pevav, a letter to him, how he could write such a thing. It's l'chora against the halacha. The halacha tells you that you have to do everything on Yom Tov Rishon, the same Yom Tov Sheni, and in this regard also. And just like it says that you have to light the legat ner with a brach on Yom Tov Rishon, so too on Yom Tov Sheni. And all the poskim write this, the Levush, the Ben Ish Chai in Raf Ta'alim, Chelik Dalet, Or HaChaim Siman Chadbet, Mishnah Berurah in Siman Tav Kuf Yudalet, Kaf HaChaim says the minhag, and even the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Rabbi Baruch Teledana write the same thing. I don't understand how he was able to bring such a, if he saw such a thing as some ladies doing it, it's obviously a lack of education that they had. But that's not called a minhag. It bothered me so much. I also spoke to Yedidi Hagaon Rav David Bano Shlita, who's a Dayan in Montreal, and he used to be a Dayan in Morocco for many years. He never saw such a thing. He never saw such a thing that they wouldn't make a bracha or that there was such a minhag. And no poskim brings such a thing. And the rule is, if no poskim brings such a minhag, obviously it's something that obviously infiltrated somehow, and it's not a proper minhag that is endorsed on the halacha. So that's just regarding Adlakat Nerot of Yom Tov Sheni. Now, getting back to the Ben Ish Chai in Parashat Bamidbar, the Ben Ish Chai writes that the minhag is that the women make Ufo Irenu Bagdad Nohagim Anashim Levarech Shehiyanu Beadlakat Nerot Bechol Yom Tov Sheyesh Bo Birkat Shehiyanu Bekiddush. There's a minhag that ladies make Birkat Shehiyanu on the Hadlakat Nerot of Yom Tov, because anyways they have to make Shehiyanu at night, so the women do it by the candle. And I saw certain Moroccan Rabbanim say that this was also the minhag in Morocco. I don't know if this was a widespread minhag in Morocco. I think it depended on some families had this minhag, and for all I know, it could be that they learned it from the works of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch of the Ashkenazim or others. The Birkei Yosef though also says that he heard such a minhag that women make the bracha of Shehiyanu. And we also see that Eliyahu Rabbah they bring, now why would women make this bracha? Then it's not very clear why. It's not very clear why. The halacha is that a person can say Shechianu, Omro afilu bashuk, even during the day. Let's say he forgot to say Shechianu. Wherever he is, he can say Shechianu. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. So, what happens with those women who do have this minhag? So they can continue. There's nothing wrong al pi halacha. But a woman who doesn't know her minhag, she should just listen to Shechianu that her husband says during Kiddush and answer Amen. Now there is a question, those ladies who are noeg like the Ben Ish Chai, and they said already Shechianu, there's a big question, what do they do during Kiddush when their husbands are saying Shechianu? If they answer Amen, maybe it's a hefsek, maybe it's an interruption for them. So the Sefer Minhaj Shelomo of Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach in Tanyana, Siman Samech Ot Chavbet, brings up from the fact that they never warned, the poskim never said such a thing, that they shouldn't answer Amen. It's not called a hefsek. The Igrot Moshe of Rav Moshe Feinstein says it's not called a hefsek because since they were already Yotzeh, their beracha, since they were already fulfilled their obligation, since they were already fulfilled their obligation I'm sorry, since the husband is fulfilling his obligation and you're answering Amen for him, there's no hipstick for you. It's just like the Rama says that if a person makes a bracha, and everyone answers Amen, and we answer Amen, and then we speak before we drank, it could be a lot of hefsek because the person himself who made the bracha already drank, and he's okay, and he didn't make hefsek. The B'Jina Bashal also says it's not called the hefsek. So basically, women who had the bidhag to say Shechianu, they could definitely continue. They could even answer Amen to their husband's bracha during Kiddush. But a woman who doesn't know her minhag definitely does not have to say Shechianu by Lagat Ner Shel Yom Tov. She should just wait till her husband says it by Kiddush. One more interesting halakha is that we know that there's a halakha on Yom Tov that certain melachot were permitted l'tzorech ochel nefesh. One of the melachot that were permitted was the melachet havara. Havara means the kindling of the fire. You're allowed to kindle a fire on Yom Tov. You're just not allowed to start a fire. Why? As it's written in the Gemara Masechet Bitah, En motziin. We don't take these tzotzot out. We don't create a fire. Says the Pri Megadim. Why? It's an Isur de Rabbanan because of Nolad. It's a rabbinic prohibition because you are creating fire. But it's not Isur de Oraita. Now, what happens? The Poskei of Ma'arav, the Moroccan Poskim, had a question. What happens if you take a match and you light a match on Yom Tov? Is that considered that you are creating a fire? Or since you already have the combustible material over there, that's not called creating a fire. It was already kind of, the potential was existing there. So in the Shirot U'Tshuvot Kerem Chemer of Rabbi Avram Ankawa, in Chelek Bet Siman Sadivav, and brought down also in the Mitzur Zvash, Siman Yud and Yud Aleph, and Rabbi Kvei Amayim of Rabbi Moshe Malka and Chelek Vav, and Rabbi Shalom Mitzad, all write that they didn't see a prohibition of starting a new fire when you're lighting a match on Yom Tov. Many poskim argue, but these poskim are of the opinion that it's not called that you're creating something ex nihilo, that you're scratching two pieces of wood together and creating it. The potential was already there, and you just had to scratch a match and it came out. That's not called nolad, and that would be permitted. So these are a couple of halachot regarding Birkat Shechianu, and in regards to general certain halachot of Yom Tov, of the coming Yom Tov of Shavuot that comes upon us. Hazak u'baruch.